My wife's crush had returned to the country to develop his career. After years apart, he still had that same broken, melancholic prince look, the kind that easily stirs up a protective instinct in others. To be honest, I was already prepared for a cliché drama. The crush comes back. My wife and I turn against each other. She regrets everything and tries to win me back. But to my surprise, just as the stage was set and the curtains had yet to rise, my wife decisively refused to take part in such a farce. It seems things were about to get interesting. Chapter 1. Right in the middle of our candlelit anniversary dinner, Willow's phone screen suddenly lit up. Glancing at the message notification, her expression immediately darkened. I sat calmly, waiting for her reaction, almost seeing in my mind how she might suddenly stand up, make some lame excuse to cut the dinner short, and rush out of the house in a hurry. But unexpectedly, Willow unlocked her phone right away, handed it to me, and complained in exasperation. "Darling, tell me, is this Makoto insane or what? Can't he go downstairs and buy a Band-Aid himself? Why does he have to message me about every tiny little thing, like I'm his mom? So annoying." Stunned, I took her phone, only to burst out laughing the moment I saw the message. "Willow, please come quickly. I cut my finger while chopping vegetables. It bled a few drops. I'm so scared. Only you can help me." The contact name was saved as Pathetic Sissy. This Makoto really doesn't seem normal. If I remember right, his rented place is at least an hour's drive from here, isn't it? Needing you over just because he nicked his finger. He's even more ridiculous than an overgrown baby. Seriously, he's such a weirdo. Willow pouted angrily, which only made her look cuter. Right in front of me, her fingers flew across the screen as she typed out a reply to Makoto. "Oh my, if the injury is that serious, I can't handle it alone. You'd better call 911 immediately. Any later and the bleeding might actually stop." I laughed out loud again. My wife's combat power was nothing to underestimate, and her sense of humor was sharp as ever. Makoto fell silent on the other end, while Willow and I were finally free to enjoy our carefully planned romantic dinner in peace. Regarding Makoto's existence, Willow never tried to hide it from me, because there was simply no need. Willow and I had grown up together as childhood sweethearts, classmates since kindergarten. Makoto only entered the picture later, when he became our classmate in high school. I have to admit, Makoto was the most popular boy among the girls back then. He had delicate, handsome features, a frail figure, and always carried a melancholy, sentimental look, as if a gust of wind could knock him over. That broken, fragile aura won him endless sympathy from the girls in our class. Of course, looks alone weren't enough. Makoto could also sing beautifully, his voice husky yet magnetic, with a natural sense of rhythm. Combined with his professional-level guitar skills and his carefully curated, artsy poet persona, he was devastatingly attractive to the female students. Nearly every girl in our class had a crush on him at one point or another, and Willow, the class beauty, was no exception. For a few months, the two of them grew close. But just when they were on the verge of becoming the textbook example of a teenage romance, Makoto's family moved overseas, and his contact with Willow was cut off. I must emphasize, I didn't take advantage of the gap left by Makoto's departure to slip in and establish a relationship with Willow. The reason we eventually made it to the altar had far more to do with years of tacit understanding and long-lasting companionship. From school uniforms to wedding dresses, the bond and chemistry between Willow and me had already surpassed most married couples. It was only recently that Willow's former crush returned to the country, and even settled in C-City, the same city where we live. I feared that waves might ripple across my marriage. Unbelievable. Sending me such ridiculous messages on my wedding anniversary with my husband. Does he want to poison our relationship on purpose? Seeing Willow still fuming, I could only comfort her. "It's all right. Don't overthink it. Maybe he's just someone who has no sense of boundaries, and he still treats you as part of his inner circle. You've already rejected him clearly, so it's no longer your responsibility. I won't use this as an excuse to get upset with you." Relieved, Willow nodded, then clung to my hand coquettishly. "Darling, I'm so glad you believe in me. Later, I'll make it up to you properly." Looking into her watery, peach blossom eyes, my own gaze softened with tenderness and affection. For a moment, the atmosphere in the restaurant grew warm and intoxicatingly romantic. But just then, Willow's phone rang again. Chapter 2. The caller ID showed it was Makoto, and Willow's face instantly darkened. Without the slightest hesitation, she tapped speaker mode and answered the call. The next second, Makoto's panicked, tearful voice came through. "Willow, please, I'm begging you, come see me. My depression is acting up again." Willow's temper seemed to ignite in a flash. Gritting her teeth, she snapped at the phone. "Makoto, I'm not a psychiatrist. I can't help you. If you're not feeling well, go to the hospital and register for an emergency appointment. Right now, I'm having a candlelit anniversary dinner with George, and I don't have time to deal with your problems. If it's nothing urgent, then stop calling me, all right?" There was a pause on the other end. Then Makoto's sobbing voice grew even more pitiful. Willow, you can't just abandon me. You're the only person I know in this city. When my depression hits, I want to commit suicide. Shouldn't you care that I'm still a living human being? You wouldn't want my death hanging between you and George's marriage, would you? Boo-hoo-hoo. You're the kindest person I know. Willow, please, come keep me company. If you don't come, I really won't survive. Willow's expression twisted in frustration, and she raked her hands through her hair, clearly pushed to her limits by his relentless pestering. What makes you think that if you kill yourself, I will be the one to bear the burden in my marriage with George? Let me repeat myself, I'm not a doctor. I can't help you. If you truly can't survive, then just die. Every day, countless people lose their lives in war-torn regions across the world. Am I supposed to save every single one of them? Do you think I'm some kind of superwoman? Makoto clearly hadn't expected my wife to be so ruthless. His voice was filled with disbelief. Willow, you've changed. You weren't like this before. How can you be so cold-hearted? By now, Willow was nearly beside herself with anger. Oh please, can you act normal for once? What decent wife would leave her husband on their wedding anniversary dinner just to care for an old classmate who cut his finger, or claims his depression is acting up? Isn't that just asking for trouble when life is perfectly fine? Do I look like such an idiot to you? You're simply impossible to reason with. Willow, you. Enough. I'm hanging up. If you keep crying and pestering me like this, I'll block you. With that, Willow slammed the call shut, then looked at me with teary eyes, her face full of grievance. Ugh, darling, what rotten luck. If I'd known it would be like this, I wouldn't have gone to meet Makoto when he first came back to the country. Being pestered by that pathetic sissy like a sticky plaster, I feel downright unclean. Ugh. I studied Willow with interest. There wasn't the slightest trace of pretense in her reaction, so I pulled her into my arms and gently comforted her. Don't worry, as long as you don't pull off some cliché drama like the unattainable love of youth that ruins your whole life, and we both keep honesty and communication, everything will be perfectly fine. MHM. Willow nodded vigorously, then broke into a silly grin completely at odds with her usual image as a sharp, competent career woman. Hee hee, darling, hug me. Chapter 3. Makoto had stayed quiet for a few days after Willow threatened to block him, but as time passed, his restless heart could no longer hold back. It was the weekend, and Sea City enjoyed a rare clear sky and brilliant sunshine. On a whim, Willow and I decided to take a stroll in a nearby park, but we had barely taken a few steps when Willow's phone rang again. The moment I saw her helpless expression as she pulled out her phone, I knew exactly who was calling. Once again, Willow switched on the speaker, and Makoto's anxious voice came through. Willow, something terrible has happened, really terrible. My grandmother fainted today, and after being rushed to the hospital, the doctor diagnosed her with a terminal illness. She doesn't have much time left. Before she goes, she desperately wants to see you one last time. Could you come visit her? I knew about Makoto's grandmother. Back when he and Willow had that brief ambiguous relationship, she had treated Willow with great kindness, almost like a real granddaughter, often inviting her home for meals and showing her genuine affection. I leaned back and calmly observed Willow, curious how she would handle this situation. Perhaps she sensed the ulterior motive behind this invitation, or perhaps she couldn't ignore the warmth and care Makoto's grandmother had once shown her. Either way, her expression shifted again and again, until she finally gritted her teeth and answered, "Fine, give me the address. I'll visit her this afternoon." "That's wonderful, Willow. Grandma will be so happy to see you. Her condition might even improve just from your visit. The address is XXXXX. After a short pause, Makoto added, "Oh, and Willow. Grandma's mind isn't too clear these days. She doesn't like strangers around her. She only wants to see you. So, could I ask you to come to the hospital alone?" "Got it." Willow hung up decisively without further chatter, then turned to me with an apologetic smile. "Darling, I'm really sorry. Looks like we can't keep strolling through the park today. After lunch, could you come with me to XX Hospital?" I was a little puzzled. Hadn't Makoto specifically asked her to come alone? Of course, I wasn't foolish enough to say that out loud. Willow, however, had no intention of hiding her thoughts and explained frankly. "Makoto said I should go alone, but I'm not his mother. Why should I do everything just because he says so? Even if it's a hospital, a public place. What if he set up some kind of trap and I walked in unprepared? I'd be the one to suffer." I nodded in full agreement. So, after lunch, Willow and I headed together to the hospital where Makoto's grandmother was staying. When Makoto saw Willow arrive, his eyes lit up, but the moment he noticed me by her side, his face immediately twisted with frustration. Willow went into the ward to visit Makoto's grandmother, while I remained outside, watching my old classmate with a half-smile. Time seemed to have left little mark on his handsome features, yet perhaps from scheming for too long. That once charming face now carried a sinister sharpness. What hadn't changed was his frail, almost collapsing posture, and that broken, melancholy aura. You should know, if I hadn't gone abroad back then, you would never have had the chance to be with Willow. I was her crush, the one she'll always carry in her heart. If I were you, I'd step aside willingly. At least that would look more dignified. I ignored him, continuing to watch his ugly performance as if I were watching a fool. George, are you mute? I'm telling you, the one Willow truly loves will always be me. You were just a stand-in while I wasn't here. Now that the real one is back, the substitute should get lost. I think you're a decent man, so recognize reality early and walk away on your own. It'll be better for all of us. I still kept silent, the corners of my lips curling into a mocking smile. Makoto's face twisted in rage on the spot, growing more and more feral. You bastard. What kind of attitude is that? Just wait, I'll make sure to take care of Willow. Once Willow cheats on you, you'll regret your arrogance today. Makoto, doesn't it feel awful to throw a punch into thin air? You couldn't even take the first step. You never managed to lure my wife out. All those little tricks you prepared, provocations, photos, whatever, they all became a joke. Doesn't it feel like you're suffocating from holding it all in? I leisurely savored the change on Makoto's face, shock, then disbelief, then rage, until finally it twisted completely into madness. But in the next moment, as if hearing something, he glanced at the ward's doorway and gave me a strange grin. Then, he suddenly raised his hand and slapped himself hard across the left cheek. Smack. His handsome left cheek instantly swelled, a trace of blood seeping from the corner of his mouth. George, how could you doubt my relationship with Willow? There's nothing improper between us. You hit me. Fine. I'll take it, but don't you dare misunderstand Willow. At that very moment, the ward door was flung open. Willow stormed out, glaring at Makoto before grabbing me to leave. Wait, Willow. Seeing his ploy ignored, Makoto quickly grabbed her arm. What, now? Willow ground out each word through clenched teeth. Why, Willow, George, he hit me. Makoto pointed to his swollen left cheek, looking utterly pitiful with tears brimming in his eyes. Smack. Willow's hand came down hard on his right cheek. Makoto's right side immediately puffed up to match the left. If George hit you, you must have done something wrong. Don't worry, I'll make it symmetrical for you. Oh, but why are the handprints facing different directions? I don't recall George's hands being attached backwards. With that, Willow tilted her head proudly, gave him a dazzling eye roll, and pulled me away down the hallway. What happened? Willow, did Makoto's grandma try something on you? My question lit the fire in Willow instantly. Tears of grievance streamed down her cheeks as she complained bitterly. I'm furious. I never dreamed that the once kind old lady would turn into such a shameless hag. Even when she's sick and dying, she still has to disgust others. Barely after exchanging a few pleasantries, she demanded I divorce you, marry Makoto, and give him a child, said it was her final wish. What does she take me for? There. Don't be angry, it's fine. You didn't agree, did you? Agree? I'd have to be insane to agree. The only reason I didn't slap her right there was because I showed restraint. Using her age as a shield, forcing her selfish desires onto others, such a vile woman deserves her illness. It seemed Makoto's grandmother's offensive had failed as well. I wondered if he would keep quiet for a few days this time. But then again, once, maybe twice, not 3 or 4 times. If he stirred up more trouble next time, I wouldn't hold back anymore. Chapter 4. The storm with his grandmother was calmed by my tacit cooperation with Willow. And sure enough, Makoto quieted down again. To prevent further harassment, Willow simply blocked Makoto's number. Finally, some peace and quiet. But both Willow and I knew very well, Makoto's retreat was only temporary. Sooner or later, he would try to make a comeback. A few days later, Willow's phone rang again. This time, however, the caller was her best friend from high school, Maria. Maria, it's been so long since you last called me. Did you forget about me? Since it was her best friend, Willow was naturally delighted. After chatting for a while, she hung up and reported to me. Darling, Maria asked me out tonight for a little get-together. Smiling, I nodded, showing I had no intention of interfering with her normal social life. But Willow still seriously explained. We're meeting at 7 tonight, at the Sea City Welcome Hotel for a girls' night. Besides Maria, Laura, Lisa, and Luna will also be there. We'll probably finish around 10. Could you pick me up afterward? No problem. When my wife gives an order, how could I dare refuse? You're so annoying. That evening, I drove Willow to the hotel. Darling, thank you for tonight. If anything happens, I'll give you a call. All right, don't worry, Willow. I'll just stay nearby. We'll keep in touch. With light makeup, dressed stylishly and attractively, Willow happily slung her little purse over her shoulder and walked into the hotel. I, on the other hand, cast a deep gaze toward the hotel's interior and let out a sneer. Worthless tricks, always resorting to cheap, filthy schemes. I didn't actually drive around nearby as I had said. Instead, I waited about 5 minutes, then made a phone call before heading straight into the hotel. The distance from the entrance to the private rooms wasn't far. When I reached the door to Willow's room, I could already hear a furious voice from inside. Maria, I treated you like a sister, and you tricked me together with Makoto. Willow, it's not what you think. Makoto told me there was a misunderstanding between you two. I just didn't want the best couple, separated for so long, to miss each other again. So you lied to lure me here, didn't you? Tell me honestly, did you only invite Makoto? Laura and the others were never coming. I only did this for your own good. Yes, Willow. Maria has witnessed our relationship all along. She knows we're the most compatible. She's only trying to help you. Get out. Wait, my head, it's so dizzy. Did you drug me? Willow, don't blame me. I just don't want you and Makoto to miss each other again. Believe me, I would never hurt you. The next second, Willow's desperate and weak sobbing came from inside the private room. Woo, hubby, save me. I didn't wait any longer. I shoved the door open and came face to face with Makoto and Maria, who were supporting Willow on each side, preparing to leave. In Willow's eyes flashed the wild joy of surviving a disaster, while Makoto and Maria were filled with shock and fear. That. George, I can explain. Maria still tried to argue, but my raised hand came down hard across her face. A resounding slap echoed, far too loud, and her delicate body spun 3 full circles before stopping, blood trickling from her ear, the corner of her mouth, and her nose. Whatever excuse you've got, save it for the police later. At the mention of the police, Makoto trembled all over, dropped Willow, and tried to run. Without hesitation, I blocked his path. Makoto's eyes gleamed with ferocity. His hands suddenly spread out like claws, lashing toward my face. The claw strike carried streaks of black energy, radiating a chilling murderous intent even from afar. In that moment, he looked every bit the predator, his posture hawk-like and wolfish, his movement as swift as lightning, completely devoid of the frail, melancholic young master act he used to put on. George, you forced me into this. Go to hell. I calmly folded my arms across my chest, staring at the man charging toward me. At the very instant before he could touch me, my leg whipped up with lightning speed, hips twisting into a devastating side kick that slammed into his chest. Makoto's eyes widened with disbelief and terror as his body was launched backward, crashing hard into the wall behind him. When he fell to the ground, he was already half dead, barely breathing, a pitiful wreck on the verge of death. With such pathetic skills, you dare drug people? Do you think modern law is just for show? Ha, ridiculous. No sooner had the words left my mouth than 5 policemen rushed into the room. Wait, I didn't mean, woo, I was wrong. I won't do it again. Don't arrest me. As a pair of shining silver handcuffs snapped onto her wrists, Maria broke down crying hysterically. The half-dead Makoto was also cuffed and dragged away. On the table, the water glass stood as ironclad evidence of their vile deeds. Chapter 5. At last, I no longer had to worry about that lunatic Makoto stirring up more trouble for the time being. When my wife woke up and learned about what had happened afterward, her whole being seemed even more radiant than before. Her brows relaxed, her starry eyes glistened, and her crystal-clear lips curved into a smile full of relief. Hubby, woo, thank you for saving me. I never imagined, not even in my dreams, that my former best friend would join hands with that bastard Makoto to hurt me. If it weren't for you, I really would have been ruined by them. Thank you, hubby. Woo woo. I gently stroked Willow's hair, softly comforting her. There, don't be afraid, it's all over now. Willow nestled into my arms, wriggling freely as she pouted playfully. But I'm still so scared, hubby. How can people's hearts turn so vicious? Who knows? Maybe she was manipulated into being an accomplice. Maybe she was jealous of the happiness in your life. Or maybe she was just rotten to the core. But don't worry, whether it's Makoto or Maria, neither of them will ever disturb your life again. For attempted rape and illegal possession or use of narcotics, Makoto was sentenced to 3 years in prison. As his accomplice, Maria received a 1-year sentence. It's said that at that moment, Makoto looked as though his soul had been ripped away, his whole body collapsing. Even though it was only a 3-year sentence, he was so terrified he wet himself on the spot, frantically begging the judge, "Please, I beg you, let me go. I can't be locked up for 3 years. 3 years will kill me." When he was dragged away, he went mad, crying, laughing, struggling desperately, nothing like the ruthless decisiveness he showed when he fought me. The next morning, when Willow awoke in my arms, the tear stains still on her cheeks gave her a fragile beauty, like pear blossoms in the rain. that made my heart soften even more. Hubby. I had a dream, such a sorrowful dream. What did you dream about? Can you share it with me? Smiling, I admired the breathtaking beauty of my beloved, holding her tightly in my arms so that her body would no longer tremble from fear and grief. Willow tried hard to recall, but eventually gave up. It was long, but I forgot the details. I only remember, at the end, I seemed to be in a pitch-black space, facing a female ghost who looked exactly like me but with a hideous expression. She was crying blood tears, and again she told me. What did she tell you? She said, the great mistake is already made. Even if it wasn't by choice, no amount of regret can change it. She also said, I'm willing to let my soul scatter into nothingness, suffer eternal damnation, in exchange for another version of myself in another timeline being freed from the shackles of this fate, able to make choices with a clear conscience, and live out a life freely and calmly. Was that all? Let me think. Right. At the end, she seemed to beg me to live on well, carrying her share of life too. Hubby, do you think I've been under too much stress lately? How could I dream something so strange? I gently comforted my wife, who looked like a frightened little deer. It's all right. It's probably just too much pressure. Don't worry, darling. It's all in the past now. What matters most is that we live our days well from now on. Willow nodded vigorously in my arms. When I went to visit Makoto in prison, I found that this once brooding yet strikingly handsome young man had completely collapsed. His gaze was dull, his face degraded into something vulgar, as if he had become an entirely different person. When he saw that his visitor was me, Makoto gripped the iron bars separating us, shaking them violently as he roared, It's you. It must be you, George. Wouldn't it have been better if you, the side character, had just obediently died? I clearly already completed the task of conquering Willow, got my reward, and escaped this little world. Why did I wake up back on the day before the mission even started? Was it your doing? Yes, and no. I replied with a cheerful smile, though my eyes brimmed with killing intent. Have you ever considered this possibility, that after trampling on morality, toying with hearts and humanity, making everyone despise you, maybe I'm not the only one who wants to deal with you? As soon as I finished speaking, I suddenly raised my hand. The space around us instantly froze, as though coated in glacial crystal, falling into absolute stillness. Everything in heaven and earth became frozen sculptures sealed in eternal ice. The only ones who could still move were Makoto and me, but I don't think you need to worry about those details anymore. After all, for someone on the brink of death, even knowing who sabotaged your schemes doesn't matter. Time to rest in peace. Like a phantom, I walked straight through the iron bars, step by step closing in on Makoto. He stumbled back in terror, screaming wildly, System, come out. I forfeit this mission. I don't want any of the points anymore. Just get me out of this world. Too late. That filthy little toy of yours, after doing nothing but vile deeds, is now trembling just to protect itself. How could it possibly care about a dispensable pawn like you? With that, I drew in a deep breath. A wildly flickering sphere of light was ripped straight out of Makoto's body and instantly swallowed into my belly. The taste is lacking, but understandable. After all, a higher grade system wouldn't need to drag expendable cannon fodder across countless worlds to do such shameless, dirty deeds. Seeing that even his final trump card had been taken from him, Makoto collapsed to his knees in terror, banging his head against the ground. Spare me. You're definitely not George. I've never offended you. We have no grudges between us. Please let me go. Hey, stop guessing nonsense. I am the real George, and the way you look right now is just too ironic. No wonder you love hopping through countless worlds. So obsessed with stealing wives, wrecking marriages, making some unlucky victim kneel to you, then coaxing women while forcing men to slap themselves. Turns out you've always had a fetish for kneeling. Please, boss, spare me. I really know I was wrong. Desperate to live, Makoto, with tears and snot streaming down his face, began slapping himself frantically. The sharp smacks echoed through the entire visitation room, and his head soon swelled into a grotesque pig's head. But I was already tired of his performance. I didn't even bother to deliver the kind of classic line a righteous hero usually says before killing the villain. Instead, I simply raised my hand and snapped my fingers. Snap. Makoto froze in place, still on his knees. Then, rolling black mist began to seep out from his body. After swirling around him for a brief moment, it surged toward me, sinking straight into my body. The delicious taste of karmic filth. This world just became a whole lot cleaner. Chapter 6, Epilogue. I am George, but I am not only George. Before accepting the sacrifice of this world's unlucky victim and being reborn here, I was a traveler wandering across countless worlds, tasting the myriad colors of life. This world's unlucky victim, until his dying breath, firmly believed that his beloved wife could never have committed such heartless, immoral acts, much less have cruelly killed him for the sake of some scoundrel, glittering on the outside yet rotten within. When his broken soul knelt before me, every word soaked in blood and tears, he was willing to exchange all the merit accumulated over 10 lifetimes of reincarnation, along with the entirety of his soul's energy, in return for me uncovering the truth and freeing his little wife from manipulation. I never intended to slack off, yet it seemed that after I came here, there was no task left for me to do, for his childhood sweetheart had already, after everything was settled, sacrificed herself, offering up everything to another existence in exchange for Willow's freedom from the control of the storyline. 2 different paths, yet leading to the same fate, 2 lovers, deeply devoted, yet played cruelly by the plot. In the end, both made nearly identical choices. Even I, an old monster whose heart had long been tempered into stone, could not help but sigh with sorrow. Hubby, did you hear? That Makoto, they say he turned into a vegetable in prison. Hearing the bad news about Makoto, Willow smiled with her eyes curved like crescents. It was as if the shadows of the past had completely dispersed, and she had returned to the radiant splendor of the sunny, confident CEO of the Lu Corporation. Haven't heard, but honestly, that ending suits a scumbag like him. MHM. Willow's smile was as warm as sunlight, her starry eyes shimmering with brilliance, tugging at my heart with every beat. I am not only George, but in this life, I am only George. To accept another's trust is to fulfill it faithfully. Equivalent exchange. This has always been my principle through endless years. Since I have already taken on the commission of a departed soul, I will be the most dedicated George, carrying his hopes and attachments to this world, along with his determination to protect the one he loves. I will live earnestly, and walk alongside Willow for the rest of this lifetime. Mountains may crumble, seas may turn to dust, but true love must never be betrayed.